Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Could everyone please take their seats? We are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. The school board meeting of September 21st, 2021 is now called to order. The time is 6:02. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential and the district vision to be a world-class school system. This evening's agenda includes invocation, pledge of allegiance, recognition, public comments, consent action items, which include 1 item under board office, 2 items under academic services, 3 items under business services, 2 items under human resources, 8 items under operations, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move to adopt the agenda as published.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
I'll second.
Ms. Morgan? This was moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Morgan, and please record your vote.
I didn't get the vote, sorry. Affirmative.
It's not coming up on yours?
Let me reboot. I'm affirmative though.
Ms. Gittens said she doesn't have hers, but she's yay. So, Ms. Thomas, do we have everybody's?
Yes.
Okay, 7-0, motion passes.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Ms. Giovanelli will introduce her guests for the invocation, after which Ms. Fisher will introduce the candidate to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Giovanelli, please introduce your guest.
Thank you. Sam Kilman is the lead pastor at Redeemer Church in the Cypress Lake neighborhood of Fort Myers. He graduated high school in the class of 2009 and attended college at the University of Mobile, as well as Luther Rice College and seminary. He has served in vocational ministry for the last 15 years. As one of the few born and raised in Fort Myers, Sam has a pride and love for the city. He met his wife Bethany here, and both of their sons were born here. Lee County is home for the Kilman family, and they like it that way. More importantly, Sam loves Jesus and wants his life to be used by God to help people come to a saving relationship with Jesus as well. The mission of the Redeemer Church, where Sam pastors, is to love God, love people, and make disciples, a task Sam takes personally and seriously. It is an honor to serve the people of Lee County through the gospel ministry entrusted to him. Please stand and let us welcome Sam Kilman for the invocation for this evening. Welcome, Pastor Kilman.
Thank you very much. Will you bow your heads in prayer with me? Our gracious Heavenly Father, God, we come to you tonight first to thank you for your goodness and grace, for the mercy that you grant each of us every day. We thank you for the free gift of salvation in Jesus Christ and his death on the cross for our sins. We thank you for your faithfulness to us, even when we are rebellious towards you. I pray, God, that you would convict us in our hearts of any sin present in our lives. May we confess it and trust you. May we recognize the freedom found in a relationship with you. And God, in this time, as this meeting begins, I ask that you would grant your wisdom and discernment. I thank you for those whom you have put in place to participate in this body of educators and for the sometimes difficult decisions they face. Again, Lord, we ask you to help us. Let us not do what we feel is right in our own eyes, as your people did so long ago. But Lord, rather we pray and we depend solely on you to lead us and guide us to do what is right and good. I thank you again for the leadership represented here. I pray you would protect them and grant them health. I pray you would bless them and their families. Lord, continue to use them as they lead to help form our schools and shape our students, so they may grow up to participate in this world with knowledge and confidence, as well as endurance and gentleness and patience and truth. We thank you, Lord. Be with us now. In Jesus' holy and precious name I pray. Amen.
Ms. Fisher? Ms. Fisher, please introduce the candidate for the pledge.
Yes.
Thank you.
The cadet presenting the national colors tonight will be introduced by Command Sergeant Major Mariano Alvarez, Army instructor at Bonita Springs High School. Command Sergeant Major Alvarez retired from active Army service in 2018 after 30 years of distinguished service. He completed 7 deployments in support of combat operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia. He was awarded both the Legion of Merit and the Bronze Star Medal. This is Command Sergeant Major Alvarez's second year of teaching JROTC in the School District of Lee County. Welcome, Sergeant Alvarez.
Thank you, ma'am. The national colors of our Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be presented by Cadet Colonel Brittany Wyszynski, who is the highest-ranking cadet and commander of the JROTC Bull Sharp Brigade. She superbly leads by example while providing direction for an organization of over 400 JROTC cadets. Cadet Wyszynski is also a commander of the drill team and a member of the district champion drone team. Despite rigorous academic and work schedules, she maintains a 4.27 GPA. After high school, Cadet Wyszynski plans to attend the Culinary Institute of America to pursue a career as a chef and ultimately owning a business. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. I would like to invite Mr. Carl Burnside, principal at Dunbar High School, to please join the recognized employees at the lectern. The School District of Lee County is proud to announce the recognition of Dunbar High School employees' actions in emergencies. A recent emergency situation at Dunbar High School required the quick thinking and swift action of several employees, which resulted in the survival of a student. Teacher Jill Clausing activated the emergency response. School resource officer David Sanchez and David Wood of Fort Myers Police Department assessed the situation, called 911, began CPR, and called for the AED to be brought to the classroom, which ultimately needed to be used to revive the student. Both officers, along with Coach Sammy Brown and ESE paraprofessional, and I apologize if I'm missaying your name, Ayesa Lee, followed CPR protocols. EMTs arrived and transported the patient to the hospital. The hospital medical team later stated that thanks to the quick actions of the Dunbar High School team, the student survived. The school, wow. The school board and the superintendent are pleased to recognize the following. And if you will go to over here to Mr. Burnside. SRO David Wood. And just stay up there so we get all of you up here together. Jill Clausing. Coach Sammy Brown. Aisa Lee. And unfortunately, SRO Davis Sanchez could not attend this evening, but we need to give him a hand as well. Mr. Burnside, can you step up here as well with your team?
Yes.
Thank you all.
You guys rock.
Thank you. At this time, and thank you for being here, and if you want to stay, we'd love to have you. If you don't, we understand as well. So just letting you know that, okay? Just giving you the opt-out. Thank you so much again. Next on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Bruno, please address the item of public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a public comment card, please put it in the basket provided at the back of the room. If you need a public comment card, they are provided by our staff located in the hallway outside of the boardroom. The rules concerning public comment are posted and will be made from the microphone in the back. Please be advised that the board will not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. Speakers and those attending the meeting are expected to act in a respectful manner. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on district issues. Personal attacks on individuals or abusive language are prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, and booing, unreasonably loud and/or offensive language, swearing, cursing, or a display of temper are prohibited. Speakers may not address board members by name, and personal attacks against individual board members, the board as a whole, the superintendent, or district staff are prohibited. There is a proper way to do that pursuant to Board Policy 1.11. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 1.11 and may be removed from the chambers. There will be a one warning, and we ask that you govern yourself accordingly. We will take recesses as necessary if there is not decorum in the chambers. Please remember that it is unlawful and a second-degree misdemeanor to knowingly disrupt or interfere with a school board meeting. Per Board Policy 1.11, the time per speaker is 3 minutes if there are 20, 2 minutes if there are 30, and 1 minute if there are 31 speakers or more. The maximum time allotted for public comment is 1 hour, 60 speakers. You will find a countdown on the big screen in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. We encourage you to address the board as a whole versus individual board members as they act as a collective board. Please state your name when you approach the microphone, and I will call you 5 names, 5 speakers at a time. Please follow the staff's direction in lining up. Madam Chair, we have 22 speakers this evening, and that will be 2 minutes per speaker.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we have one individual that I'm going to request an accommodation per Board Policy 1.11, subsection 9, which is an individual with disability. They will require 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. Please make sure to have your to have completed a public comment card if you intend to provide public comment. The card is a public record, identifying those who speak and providing contact information to staff for follow-up. The cards are located with the staff in the hallway. David Newland, as the Executive Director of Safety and Security, or your designee for this meeting and future meetings, I ask that you assist the chair and parliamentarian in providing warnings to members of the public and removing individuals for violation of Board Policy 1.11. In addition, if there is not decorum during this meeting, I will call for a 5-minute recess. We will continue to recess this meeting as needed, increasing 5 minutes each time. Members of the dais, when a recess is called, I ask that you leave the chambers. Of course, it goes without saying that during the recess, board members will not discuss any matters that is pending on the agenda or will come before this body to avoid any sunshine violation. I reiterate what Ms. Bruno just said, and that it is unlawful and a second-degree misdemeanor to knowingly disrupt or interfere with a school board meeting. We would appreciate it if you would state your name and whether you live in Lee County. And you don't have to say that. State your name, please. That's what we would ask for you to do, please, prior to making your comments. And Mr. Bruno, can you please proceed with the public comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Will the following individuals please line up? Linda Carter, Denise Nystrom, Ali Locke, Chrissy DiVigelli, Edward Drass.
And our first speaker?
The first speaker will require 5 minutes, Madam Chair, please.
Okay, thank you.
Hello and good evening, Dr. Savage and members of the Lee County School Board. My name is Linda Carter. I am a substitute/guest teacher and have been with the Lee County School District since 2006. I would like to speak on why the mask is required. When I do teach, I will have to use my TOBA Dynavox Augmentative and Alternative Communication, known as SEC software, to teach class, just as I am doing, to communicate with you, Dr. Savage and the board tonight. On the 10th of August, my personal care assistant was infected by a student that came home from school with COVID-19. She was with me for 3 days before she knew she had COVID-19. She was tested on the 14th, and on the 16th, was notified that she was positive. I was without her assistance for over 14 days, till she was retested, and the test came back negative. During the time she was in quarantine, I was tested multiple times to confirm that I was negative to COVID-19. I'm writing you to hope and strongly request that you do not reverse the decision of mask wearing in the Lee County schools. If you do reverse your decision, and you then make it unsafe for teachers and guest teachers to teach, when I take my next teaching assignment, I will have to go to my assignment with as close to a biohazard suit with face shield and ventilator for my required days of teaching to keep myself safe. If the Lee County School District will not continue to make a safe working environment for teachers and teaching staff, I have no choice but to protect myself the best that I can during the day. And besides, I use a power chair to carry my ventilator and oxygen with me at all times, and also to get me around. Also, my chair does not work on stairs or in stairwells. I was online viewing the last few board meetings and was thoroughly disgusted by the attitudes of the parents, thinking about nothing but their children having to wear masks in school. And saying that masks don't do a thing to stop COVID-19, and also individuals from the audience lacking common sense and then endangering them and others if their children come home from school with COVID-19. I agree that parents do have rights with their children, but parents do not have the right to help spread COVID-19 to students, teachers, substitute/guest teachers, bus drivers and staff. Because their children are not wearing a mask and social distancing from others. By their way of thinking, by not wearing a mask, they are now legally authorized to infect and or endanger teachers, guest teachers, school staff, bus drivers, and anyone else they feel free to do so, while spreading COVID-19 and giving others severe medical issues to them, and then possibly end up in the hospital ICU for their possible last time on this planet. I will have to wear as near to a biohazard suit as possible to teach class. All these individuals can incur lifelong medical issues that will cost an unknown amount of money that the individual will have to pay co-pays for an illness that was given to them by a student at school because they was not wearing a mask and maintaining social distancing. Lee County School District teachers, guest teachers, and staff won't be safe knowing that they could get COVID-19 by working in unsafe working condition. Lee County School District has had a bus driver die, along with other school members, over in the Miami area. 4 teachers and or school staff died just before school started from COVID-19, if masks are not worn. All employees of the Lee County School District are entitled to a safe working environment. In closing, substitute/guest teachers do not get health benefits that the teachers do, and while the teachers were out and classrooms closing, the substitute/guest teachers took on, at a great risk to themselves, continued to fill in for teachers, take on consolidated classrooms, and instruct the students of the Lee County School District. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Allie Locke. You have effectively created a divide in our school district. You've pit everyone against each other, teachers, students, parents, administrators. There are many reports from schools all over the county where teachers are passing out masks at the door despite the option for parent opt-out, physically putting them on children that walk in without one, threatening to tape their masks above their noses, asking students if their parents have signed the opt-out forms, which we are not allowed to do, and threatening to write referrals for students that do not put one on. Students are teasing other students in school for not wearing a mask. Is this really the public education we want to provide for our children? A certain board member said that she wouldn't sign an MOU unless vaccinated teachers were incentivized for being vaccinated and unvaccinated teachers were penalized for being unvaccinated. She didn't agree with the fact that unvaccinated teachers get paid for having to quarantine when they're exposed to positive cases and believes that only vaccinated teachers should be paid during quarantine. That is blatant discrimination. Just like it would be discriminatory if teachers that were under a certain weight would be incentivized for being healthy. This same board member has repeatedly addressed Dr. Savage as a child in front of public board meetings and would like to remove him as superintendent. I have a better suggestion. Why doesn't the board members who are willing to listen to their constituents and follow the law, get the rogue board member out? Ms. Gittens, you mentioned that you're not one board and that you don't all stand together.
No personal names, please.
Okay, a board member mentioned that. Why not find a way to remove?
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Denise Nystrom, let me tell you what tonight is really about. Everything that you're looking at right now, it's a television show. If you spend a lot of time at these board meetings, you will understand the motives of each one of these board members. This is clickbait. fake news. And I can see this setup a mile away. These board members are going to try to tell you that Dr. Savage has been ineffective or lacks transparency. Not true. They lack transparency and don't like that they are losing control. That is why I had to file an ethics complaint against District 3 board member who tries to sabotage the superintendent at every board meeting to make him look bad. That same board member who said, please, please, please help our children by masking them, was maskless on Beach Talk Radio and at a football game when she could have had COVID. And I have the pictures. Dr. Savage has brought more ethics and integrity to this district in 10 weeks than they've had in the past 5 years. If these board members are unhappy, they should resign. They did not like that Dr. Savage lifted the mask mandate even though he had no choice per federal law. And the board policy 1.181, he had the right to. And Dr. Savage, if these people put you in a bad position that's unethical and you have to sue them, please call me as a character witness.
It's Nystrom.
Edward Grass. Public comment serves no purpose if it falls on deaf ears. Attention and energy should be redirected. For instance, letters of communication from Richard Corcoran, Governor DeSantis, Representative Spencer Roach, Representative Byron Donalds, they do get your attention. I watch and I observe. I know malfeasance when I witness it. I record and report it. I call out lies which are meant to purposely misdirect the district and the public. I can advise citizens of Lee County, taxpayers, parents, and voters of such unprofessional behavior. Stop your search for a new board superintendent. Keep Dr. Savage. By November 2022, the school board will have 4 new members. They will have different ideas about what kind of superintendent they want to work with. Stop this wasteful search. Save the taxpayers the cost of terminating a new superintendent's contract. But focus on important things like CRT, rewriting history, sexually re-educating our children, and protecting the rights of the district's 8 or 9 transgender students.
Christine DiVigili. So I have a couple of things tonight. Let's talk about parents' rights for a minute here, because we seem to keep forgetting that, you know, parents have those. So we've heard a few things mentioned already, and I'm only, you know, the 3rd speaker. We heard that opt-outs are not currently being honored. Well, we've heard that children are being isolated in classrooms. We've heard that masks are physically being put on children's faces. I spent about 15 minutes on the phone with the mom right before I came in here tonight, in between meetings, because her daughter was bullied at her elementary school, 6-year-old little girl. Her daughter was bullied because she chose not to wear a mask, and bullied so much so that she came home crying to her mom, and her mom was then bullied by the administration at that school and told that she needed to obtain a medical exemption for her child and get 504 services for her child. So this mom, and she was also told she was not allowed to bring her child back to school until those measures were met. 6-year-old little girl. So mom went out, mom got the doctor's note, gave the doctor's note to the teachers, sent it in with them with her to school, and was not told until her daughter came home from school in tears that her daughter was placed in the back of the classroom at a table all by herself, with a partition put around her. She wasn't allowed to sit with any other kids in her classroom, wasn't allowed to talk to any of the other kids. She was put in isolation under advisement from that principal. Y'all gotta get it together. There is no standard in this district, and if you can't get control of your administrators, well then none of you should be sitting up there, not a single one of you. We should not have to feel bullied by administrators.
Thank you. Will the following individuals please line up? Keith, Cindy Bonnier, Elizabeth Valley, Gavin Smith, Chanel Smith.
My name is Keith. I came here tonight because I wanted to speak very strongly in favor of Dr. Savage. During the last 10 weeks, I've seen a real difference from the superintendent in terms of clarity, in terms of honesty, in terms of integrity, and in terms of seeking real, straightforward, and consistent communication with parents and board. That is in contrast to what I've observed from the board itself. Not from everyone on the board, but certainly significant numbers. In particular, a board member sitting under the seal has been sly, has sideswiped the other board members and the superintendent in public meetings, has engaged in passive-aggressive jabs, and been completely undermining of other board members and the superintendent. I am very concerned also about other two members sitting under the seal rudely talking while other people are talking and trying to make sincere points, thereby obviously not listening or caring about public comment. Now we're going to be approaching some really important and sensitive issues like the teaching of illegal teaching of CRT and dealing with a complete distortion of healthy sexual human development. We're going to need honesty, we're going to need clarity, we're going to need respect, which I hear the board talking a lot about, but some of you not engaging. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, for your commitment to protecting the schools, the community, and for giving me a chance to speak at today's meeting. My name is Gavin Smith. I am an IB freshman at Cape High, and I have a chronic illness called cystic fibrosis that affects my lungs. I am immunocompromised but can't attend virtual school because I will lose my seat as an IB student. Graduating the IB program has been my dream since 5th grade, and I attended Mariner Middle because of their IB program. I am risking my health every day to go to school in order to work towards my goal of getting an IB diploma. I don't feel protected by the people who could, which is why I want a mask mandate. Between my therapy, respiratory therapy every day to Model UN, I take care of my health and my future. We need this mask mandate not just to protect myself, but to protect all the teachers, my fellow peers, the janitors, lunch ladies, and all the other unsung staff members who aid in the effort to educate kids. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Chanel Smith. I am the mother to two 14-year-old boys in this school district. This is my first time at a meeting like this, and I honestly did not want to go. Having heard what I've heard thus far tonight, I'm very glad that I did. I know that myself and several other parents that I know don't want to come to meetings in public, and we don't want to, we don't want to risk our health. We don't want to be out, and around people who don't want to wear masks and all of those other things, but those people go unheard because of that. So I decided to come today, and I just want to implore you, please, to reconsider the mask mandate and the opt-out. Yes, parents have rights. We absolutely do. One of the biggest rights we should have is to be able to send our children to school and know that they are safe and not have to worry if they're going to come home sick and infect the rest of the family. Gavin is my son. He was diagnosed at 11 months old with cystic fibrosis, and ever since that time, he spends a minimum of 2 hours every day doing respiratory therapy, just so that he can, add some hours or years or whatever onto his life. And he's just one example of many students with similar issues or other issues. That's all I have.
Will the following individuals please line up? Francis Haas, Tara Jenner, Dawn Armstrong, Valerie, Robert Roper.
Hello, I am Dr. Cindy Banier, and I am here as a parent and resident of Lee County and parent to 2 children in the school district and 1 child with a history of health problems that is not yet old enough to go to school. I want to thank you, Gavin, for bravely speaking here, and your mom, too. I know it takes a lot of courage to come out and face down people who are bullying you to speak the truth for those of us who need to be careful about our health, but I appreciate that. And I want to give my appreciation to all of the board members and school administrators who work hard every day doing the best that they can for our kids and our schools. I believe that we should have a mask mandate. I applauded the early efforts in instituting a mask mandate and was very disappointed in the rollback of that mask mandate, which leaves open the availability for students to not wear masks and be unchecked in that way in the schools. It's kind of unbelievable here that we have to have parents coming and talking about the life of their child, while some people are boo-hooing about children having to wear masks or being sad because they must be separated because their parents have told them they don't have to care about the life of the students in their class or their teachers. And I think that's sad for everyone. But frankly, the choice is obvious. When it comes to the life of saving even 1 child, we should do that. We should have a mask mandate reinstituted in our schools. I implore you to reconsider your position on this and have a full mask mandate reinstituted in Lee County schools for our kids.
My name's Elizabeth Valley, and I am a grandparent of 3 kids in the Lee County District. And I first want to tell all of you board members that I appreciate you. I appreciate the position you're in to care for and protect our kids and make decisions that affect all of them. I applaud you for your courage, and I'm very aware that some of you have faced a lot of scares, even death threats in this situation. So thank you for being here for our kids. When COVID first hit, as you can imagine, we were really taken aback as a family. We lost some extended family members and some close friends to family members in those beginning months. But more than that, we were affected as a family because we have a child who has lived with a lung disease for his whole life. He does multiple respiratory therapies a day, and we're always on the lookout for things that a lot of families take for granted. So finding out that COVID was a respiratory illness and then seeing everything that happened, we made the decision the first year to keep them home and do virtual school. I feel this was socially, emotionally, and academically damaging for him and his twin brother that are very, very bright kids. I wanted them to be able to experience being with friends and having a normal childhood. We also live with the fact that whatever any of us are exposed to, we would bring home to Gavin. And so we care about all of our kids, and their future. And the one thing that I want to be able to hand to them is to hand them a world where we care about one another, where we look out for each other's needs. That is how these boys are. That's how Gavin is, and his twin brother. We're extremely proud of them as human beings. We owe it to them and all the kids, everyone's children, everyone's families, to keep them safe. We owe them that in the school, you know, sending them off to school to be.
Next speaker, please.
My name is Francis Haas. I am a parent of 2 current and 1 former Lee County School District students.
Could you speak into the microphone, please? Thank you.
My name is Francis Haas. I am the parent of 2 current and 1 former Lee County School District students, and I am a healthcare provider who has worked in a COVID unit for the bulk of the last 18 months. I've seen the devastation of this disease caused by the COVID-19 virus. I'm here in support of mask mandates and other protocols that can help prevent the spread of COVID-19 in the schools. I'm here today primarily to speak about my brother-in-law, Whaley Tate. Last time I was up here, I said that he was in the emergency department at Cape Coral Hospital. Well, it turns out he has been on a ventilator for the last 13 days. And did I mention that he is a teacher here in the Lee County School District? He started showing symptoms 2 weeks after the beginning of the school year, and now he has a very poor prognosis. This disease doesn't discriminate, and it is devastating to everybody it affects. Like I said, I've worked in a COVID unit for the bulk of the last year and a half, and my brother-in-law being sick has made it that much worse. It is a political issue. We can say that, oh, it's a disease, but it's turned into a political issue, and it takes bravery. And we need bravery from the board, the superintendent, and all of the administrators to implement and enforce strict regulations.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Don Armstrong. I'm a proud parent of 2 juniors that go to North Fort Myers High School. So a couple things I want to talk to you about tonight. First thing, Florida statute 286.011. It says, public meetings to be open to the public at all times. All is the key word there. At the last meeting, when you had the budget meeting, the door was locked. No one could get in after it started. At the meeting before that, you had a workshop. The door was locked. No one could get in. Clearly, that's against violation. So I also have about 3 more Florida statutes that you're in clear violation of. I've agreed to talk to Ms. Bruno, the board attorney, tomorrow and try to reach out to her and discuss them. But the other thing I do want to talk to you about is, first, I want to compliment our superintendent. I've heard just recently that he has actually offered to increase our bus driver's salary, to increase our teacher's salary, and to finally bring them up where they need to be. And it's about time. These people work hard and put a lot into it. And for the board members that I hear that want to get rid of him, are you kidding me? Even I have had some issues, but we know that he's working through it. These issues that's going on right now that he's finding wasn't created last week, last month. It was created a couple of years ago and been going on. It's going to take him time to get through it. So, in the words of I've heard up here several times, stay in your own lane.
Tara Jenner. C.S. Lewis, in God in the Dock, Essays on Theology, Making of Modern Theology, spoke directly to the current situation facing us regarding masks and vaccines. And I quote, "Of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It would be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep. His cupidity may at some point be satiated. But those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. They may be more likely to go to heaven, yet at the same time likelier to make a hell of earth. This very kindness stings with intolerable insult. To be, quote, cured against one's will and cured of states which we may not regard as a disease is to be put on a level of those who have not yet reached the age of reason or those who never will, to be classified with infants, imbeciles, and domestic animals. Secondly, I would like to share a moment of historical significance in our great nation, which addresses this concern of discrimination. Tomorrow, September 22nd, marks the 159th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, in which he declared that as of January 1st, 1863, all slaves in states in rebellion against the Union shall be then, henceforth, and forever free. Let's celebrate this tomorrow and every day and not discriminate between those who mask and those who do not mask, as there is not much difference between that and what was done because of the color of skin. Thank you.
Will the following individuals please line up? Stephanie Hoffman, Marsha Ellis, Robert Daniels, Lori Fahey.
My name is Valine. When the superintendent made a decision to enforce a mask mandate without an opt-out option, the school board didn't get to vote and weren't even concerned they didn't have an input. Now that the superintendent decided to follow Governor DeSantis's law, it's unfair that the school board didn't get a chance to vote. The school board is clearly trying to sabotage the superintendent that has done more good for the district in 10 weeks than we have seen in a long time. The school board as a whole has a political agenda that has nothing to do with mitigation measures. It's about power and control. If my children did get COVID, I would make sure we properly quarantined ourselves and not attended a football game. My children will never wear a mask again, and I will make sure of that. My children will never be vaccinated, and I will make sure of that. We will vote you out.
Robert Roper, also known as Ward Cleaver. Earlier this year, during the summer before school started, the board decided it would be appropriate to remove a controversial poster provided by Equality Florida from the Student Code of Conduct. The question is, now what are the policies? They're nowhere to be found. One policy that was removed with the poster was allowing boys and girls restrooms, which incidentally was denied by the board the whole time. One policy that we know is still in effect today is allowing boys and girls restrooms. The question remains months later. What are the formal policies concerning the items removed from the Code of Conduct? Where are they written? How can they be obtained? Why are the policies hidden? It seems quite disingenuous to have removed the poster with the objectionable content publicly, yet allowing the same policies to be carried out privately.
Hello, my name is Marsha Ellis.
I'm going to be working backwards off of my list tonight, so I'm going to be counting down in opposite order. Third, teachers are concerned about disinformation among staff, and this information creates hostility when it's not confronted directly. As spreading of disinformation begins to be litigated in an effort to counter disinformation, that should happen in our workforce. This is necessary because clarity is needed to provide guidance to staff to protect the morale and community cohesiveness. Second, teachers are reporting that quarantining has radically changed the past couple of weeks, and that many have concerns that contact tracing is not timely and a robust effort is not mounted consistently or transparently. And now first, not masking is an endangerment. This endangerment is amplified for kids, staff, and family members with health conditions that are or who are not eligible for vaccination. Comorbidity is increased among exceptional learners. Now there's an open investigation of civil rights violations via the Federal Department of Ed. COVID spreading without mask mitigation further increases school-based cases, putting ESE teachers in a substitute teacher capacity. This further creates downward stresses on the most vulnerable students. A matrix is utilized to determine the level of services, to determine funding, including staffing. Are line item adjustments made when ESE teachers are not able to do their jobs? In my opinion, a good ESE teacher should insist on providing mandated services to students who are risking their lives to attend school. They are the first to feel the impacts and the last to get the services.
My name is Robert Daniels. I'm a teacher with Lee Virtual School. I've been there for 9 years now. I received an alarmed message from a coworker who managed to watch the workshop today about the upcoming opening of our enrollment. I was there the summer all of this started going down, when with the previous superintendent, our enrollment jumped from 400 students to over 12,000 in the span of 3 weeks. I was one of the teachers who came in without getting paid a week ahead of time before we were even supposed to be there to answer the phone and return the thousands of phone calls of worried and interested parents about this instructional model. And I'm not a public speaker, so I apologize if my voice is breaking or I'm hard to understand. What I do know is that in the aftermath of all of this, Lee Virtual School has experienced a continued swell of interest in our numbers, but we've not seen the staffing allotment that we saw last year. And even then, I spent my time after hours comforting 30-year teachers who were assigned to us. I'm prepared to work from a computer and a cell phone for 12 hours a day to try to meet their students' needs. I've had to listen to senior teachers in tears, crying, brand new teachers in tears, crying because of the amount of work they are facing. I would ask that before November 8th rolls around, whoever it is that's in the decisions of power, please come down, speak to the virtual school staff, and establish a more comprehensive way to prepare students to learn independently at home with the virtual school and with the teacher's assistants so we can do right by the students.
Will the following individuals please line up? Jamie Kirshner, Doug Santini, Wendy, Tina Harris, James Linam.
My name is Stephanie Hoffman. I am a proud parent of 2 children in public schools here. I've also been a resident of Lee County for over 15 years. I'm here to say thank you to the superintendent and the board. This is a non-enviable position that you are in right now. Thank you for the hard work that you're doing. I know that I have sent you some very angry emails. I know other people here have definitely sent you some very angry emails. Thank you for taking the time to respond to each and every one of them with our questions and concerns. And thank you for doing your best. There is no right answer. It's hard. So, thank you.
Just a reminder that we don't want anyone behind the speakers. You need to be on the other side of the stanchion, please.
Good timing on that one, thank you. I'm Lori Fahey, and I just had to tell you that the quote that comes into my mind every time I walk into this building the last few months is, "The beatings will continue until morale improves." Doesn't work that way. We are still talking up here when the presenters are able to speak at the lectern. We need to be back up there again. I've said it before, you know it. There is no reason to treat us disrespectfully this way. We had people standing out in the rain this evening to get into the meeting. This is a public building. That should not be allowed for us to be segregated away from you elected officials. What I actually came here to speak on was about the FSA testing. We have had many, many students that were forced into taking the FSA retake. It should not have happened. Those test scores didn't count last year or the year before. My son is here with me. This is Sam. They cut him out last time, so I'm bringing him in. He graduated without ever generating an FSA score or an FCAT score, and all of you know that. Legislation made it possible for these kids to graduate using concordant scores. But right now, schools are pushing students into remedial reading if they do not have an FSA score. This is against the parental rights, and it's against policy. You shall provide the remediation, but parents don't have to take it. So I want to make sure that everyone in Lee County knows that. Thank you.
Hi there, Jamie Kirshner. I'm here today as a former administrator, special education teacher, business owner, parent, and of course a taxpayer. I'm currently in the role of serving families as an advocate for children with special needs. The families of ESE students need to have their voices and concerns heard, but then acted upon, such as the student who has a very high IQ but is forced to be in a self-contained classroom because there aren't enough interpreters in our school district so she can attend her gen ed classes. No access to captioning either. Why? Where's the funding? We're asking, but we're being ignored. I'm here to represent teachers who are being stretched too thin, like the teachers of a K-5 classroom with 6 grade levels, varying disability, but hasn't had the proper training. Where's the funding? The public is asked to follow procedures, the chain of command, the process, yet when we ask questions and seek solutions, we're ignored. We want systemic change and we want to work collaboratively. How can we do this when there continues to be a pattern of leading by intimidation, fear, and lack of transparency? These parents are becoming so frustrated they hire attorneys, advocates, and still the district fights them rather than agree to mediation or changing current practices, not in the best interest of a child. We don't want to speak at board meetings other than to thank you and praise educators for their services, but when our requests are repeatedly ignored, such as the public request made on August 1st that all board members were made aware of, asking the cost of litigation, insurance premiums, how much is being spent to fight parents rather than look within our practices at the school district and be proactive versus reactive. We met with a board member. The superintendent's office knows no answers since August 1st. Why is the money coming in from our ESE students with Medicaid being funneled into the general education system rather than ESE funding? Why? I do thank you for your service, really. It's a tough position, but world-class district takes world-class leaders. Please follow through with your commitment to serve all students and collaborate with us.
Next speaker, please.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Doug Santini. I've been a student, a parent, a teacher, a school principal, and a county administrator in Lee County school system. I saw something on television the other night that I could not believe. A person would be this honest and say the things that he said, and that was our superintendent.
Excuse
me.
me.
He said, I'm a role model.
Dr. Santini, we have to be very careful in terms of personal attacks.
Criticism, let me tell you. This is a praise. He said on that program that I'm a role model for students and parents and teachers in this district, and I will follow the law even if I don't agree with it. That's a real unsaid thing in our nation today, as you know. People don't follow the law. I don't agree with all the things, but I follow it. I know a lot of things in this district from being in the district, and I know that Dr. Savage is trying to get the district to where it needs to be. He knows what the problems are. Give him a chance. Now, I was told a little bit today that there might be a board member tonight say they're going to remove Dr. Savage. I took a chance to come here. I was in my shorts watching the briefing. That would be the biggest mistake this county ever made. The man is honest. He is true. He is one of the best people we've ever had in this school system. You might not understand him all the time because he's above me, but he is really down to earth and true, and he wants to get the system where it needs to be. Be careful.
Hello, my name is Wendy, and I would love to tell you that I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight, but this is absolutely one of my least favorite things to do. I despise public speaking. But I made a promise to my brother when we were little kids that if anyone ever did anything to harm the other, that I would speak out and that I would defend him. And so today I stand for my brother. I wear my Purple Heart for my brother, and I risk my position as an educator, which I love, for my brother. I'm here for my brother tonight after reporting to work at 6:15 in the morning to take care of other people's children, even though my children attend the same school and are put at risk because of a decision that was retracted after being committed to. I have heard about honesty, and I have heard about commitment, and I have heard about responsibility. But I know in my classroom, when I report there every morning, the thing that I make sure my students know is that I will follow through. If I tell them that I am going to show up at the bus ramp, I'm at the bus ramp. I'm there with a smile on my face. I am loving them with or without a mask on. And I am loving them because they need me to, and because their families need me to. I work very hard every day at what I do, and so did my brother. And his little girl brought it to his home, and he fights for his life today. And so today I stand to fight for his, regardless of how much I can't stand standing here. I wish this was not what I had to do. Beg you to care.
Thank you. Again, this is a reminder. You need to stay on the other side of the stanchion. No one should be standing behind the speaker. I didn't want to interrupt you, ma'am, while you were speaking.
Good evening. I'm a bus driver for the district, and I've been driving for 17 years. And I come to find out we've never been in this type of situation before. A pandemic has never been in this situation before. And I stand here with a heavy heart because discussing the issue that's so simple, we made it so difficult. Because the district gave me a duty to make sure each child is taken home and taken safely. But it cannot be safe when my life is in danger and another student's in danger because we cannot wear masks. And so I truly wear a mask in the classrooms and on the bus. I truly believe a teacher should have that duty to tell a student that they should have should be in their classroom with masks. Because I truly believe my life is worth something and their life is worth something. And I really plead with you today, please. I don't kick out the political ploys. Think of life. Think of life today. Because our lives matter. We've never been in this situation before. And it got to be simple logic. We have to work together. And working together is mask. What protects us? You can't let no one who never had a science degree, never been infectious diseases, make that decision for us. We need to wear masks and think logically. Lives is dependent on it. My life is dependent on it. I'm scared to go to work. I'm scared to go to work and drive. And I have to tell a student who don't want to wear a mask where to sit. You have to sit to the back because you're discriminating. No, my life worth something. And your life worth something. Every life worth something. We need to wear masks. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Lynham. I'm a school bus driver for the district, and I think I can speak for a lot of my coworkers and I when I say we could use some more love from the district and also the public. From 4:30 in the morning to 6 o'clock at night, we're hustling, getting kids to and from school safely. And I love my job. I love what I do. My babies, those are my babies on that bus when they're on there with me. We could use a raise. We get paid the same as Amazon drivers. If I was an Amazon driver, I could replace a lost package. I can't replace a life that's on my bus, that's riding with me. So I can say we could use some more love, and thank you to the handful of administrators that support us. We thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. Well, I just want to thank everyone who came here to speak today. We're here to listen to all of you, to hear what you have to say. I know sometimes things are difficult and you think that we're not hearing, but we are definitely listening to what you are saying. And we just appreciate you being here. The next on the agenda is the approval of the action items under consent. The documentations for action items listed under consent is made available to board members 7 business days prior to the board meeting. We are expected to review all the materials, and we have an opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have also been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business table items portion of the agenda? Ms. Giovanelli?
I have one. It's the L4, approval to renew ITN number N187330LN, emergency debris monitoring and removal and disposal.
I'm sorry, L2 you said?
L4. L4.
L4, I apologize. Thank you. Ms. Patrica?
No, thank you.
Ms. Fisher?
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Gittens?
Yes, I have L2, approval and ratification of agreement to purchase
183.99 acres located 17250 State Road 82 in Fort Myers, Florida 33913.
Thank you. Ms. Vaughn?
I have none.
Ms. Morgan?
I have none.
And I have none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda's consent action items with the exception of the pulled items L2 and L4? Ms. Vaughn?
I move to accept the consent items with the exception of L2 and 4.
Thank you. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. And would you please record your vote? Okay, 7-0, motion carries. Okay, Dr. Savage, please introduce any administrators in attendance with a new assignment that were approved under the consent agenda.
Yes, Madam Chair, it would be my pleasure. First, I'd like to recognize Ms. Jamie Van Cleve, Challenger Middle, from School Intervention Support Specialist to Assistant Principal. I'd like to also recognize Dr. Denise Fitzpatrick from Fort Myers Middle Academy, from Assistant Principal to Associate Principal. And Mr. William Carrick from Calusa Middle, from Dean of Student Discipline and Teacher to Assistant Principal.
Is that it?
That is all, Madam Chair.
Did you want to introduce Mr. Dodick because he was not here the other day? No, I'm going out of protocol, but
Yes, I'm certainly willing to acknowledge, after have completed his first week on the job and into week 2, Mr. Robert Dodick, our Executive Director in Human Resources.
thank you. And I'm going to do a brief pause, so if you would like to stay, you're welcome to stay. Otherwise, congratulations, and you're welcome to leave the chamber if you'd like. Don't rush, though. They're having their celebration out there. Okay, moving on. We have 2 pulled items to address. Dr. Savage, could you please read your recommendation for pulled item number 2? I'm just going in order.
Yes, Madam Chair. L2, our recommended action is the approval for the ratification of the agreement to purchase 183.99 acres located at 17250 State Road 82 in Fort Myers, Florida 33913. Strap number 134526-000001.00010. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all necessary closing documents.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt Dr. Savage's recommendation? L2.
I move the board approve the superintendent's ratification recommendation to ratify the agreement to purchase 183.99 acres located at 17250 State Road 82 in Fort Myers, Florida 33913.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. May I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Okay, so it was moved by Ms. Morgan, seconded by Ms. Fisher. And any discussion? And I will begin with Ms. Gittens because you brought this up.
Okay. There's no doubt that we need property. There's no doubt that we need property in the East Zone. There's no doubt that there's extreme overcrowding in the schools in the East Zone. There's no doubt that many planning decisions do not take that into consideration. There is no doubt that prioritizing that need does not seem to be at the top of the list for this district. That didn't start today or this week. It has been going on for quite some time. When you have a student of mine I ran into the other day that said to me, their child who is now attending school and one of their classes is in a portable that their parent attended school in. I'm just going to let that marinate a minute. When we build, and I'm sorry, I get, maybe someday you'll listen to me. When you build a new school, and we have 4 middle schools that are overcrowded with 20 portables, you build a brand new school and we don't get not one new seat, something is wrong. I am not crazy.
Please hold your comments.
I am not whining. I am telling you the truth. I went out to the old Lehigh Acres Middle today just to see what's happening. Nothing's happening. They're going to wait until a few months before and they'll slap some paint on it when it should have a new face on it. It should have a whole bunch of new stuff done to it. And even the people doing the job have offered and told them, these are some things that need to be done. And I'm sorry, but the main issue was just to get a performing arts center. Where are our priorities? I really don't know. I don't know what else to say. For 3 years, I've been told to shut up, stay in my lane, sit down, stop asking questions, and I'm still, until the day I'm not sitting here, I will continue to ask the same questions. While you build an $84 million school where you still have not shown and proven to me that you have 117% overcapacity. Prove it to me, show me the data. And until then, I will not vote for anything else. Now, I know we need this property. Yes, we do. But if you watched last week as they showed us the plan, this property is not for those 4 middle schools that have 20 portables. It's not. It is for the new development on the west side of 82, where over 1,000 houses will go. And it's at the back door of the houses that will be off of Alico Road. How many of you, if anybody lives in Lehigh, are going to send your child across 82 to go to school? Because I sure wouldn't. Something is wrong. We are building for future development and not for current need. And I will say it over and over and over until I'm not sitting here anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Is there any other discussion regarding this L2? Ms. Giovanelli?
So I question just what the plan was for this property. We really weren't given an answer. I understand we need property, and I see the value in purchasing this property. I know there's majority of it's going to be wetlands, so I know that it's a reasonable price, and we do need property. So I'm going to support it tonight, but I have to agree with Ms. Gittens. Our priorities are not in order, and we really should be doing that first. And I'm saddened of what's happening in East Lee County, and shame on this board. We need to be doing better, and I'm just as responsible for this as all other 6 people up here. So thank you.
Is there any other discussion? And I believe that it was 100 acres where we were going to have to use on this property, is my understanding, I think they said this morning, or this
83
afternoon.
of it's wetlands, which you can mitigate the wetlands, but that'll be very expensive. So I'll be curious to see the end results to this. I mean, but I wanted to hear that it would be our next technical college, area. That's one of the needs that's out there, but, we're not planning this, and I think that we should be it should be planned, especially for 183 acres.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanelli.
Thank you.
Okay, if there is no further discussion, I will ask for a hand vote. Ms. Morgan?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Gittens?
Nay.
Ms. Patrica?
Aye.
Ms. Giovanelli?
Aye.
Ms. Fisher? Aye. And aye. So 6-1, motion carries. Okay, the next item, Dr. Savage, if you could please read your recommendation for the pulled item L4, please.
Yes, Madam Chair. L4, approval to renew ITN number N18733-0LN for emergency debris monitoring, removal, and disposal, awarded to Custom Tree Care Incorporated, P&T Lawn and Tractor Services Incorporated, Pavement Maintenance LLC, Thompson Consulting Services LLC, and Witt O'Brien's LLC for the first renewal period of October 23rd, 2021 through October 22nd, 2022, at the estimated expenditure of $300,000 pursuant to the same terms and conditions as previously approved by the board. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt Dr. Savage's recommendation for L4?
I'll move
Fisher?
that we adopt Dr. Savage's recommendation for L4, approval to renew ITN number N18733-0LN, emergency debris removal.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. May I have a second, please? Ms. Morgan?
I'll second.
Thank you. There was a motion, a recommendation. It was moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Morgan, and discussion, and I will, Ms. Giovanelli, you brought that up, so if you
Yes.
will start, that'd be great.
So it's not, I know this is a renewal contract, and I understand that. However, one of the vendors have been an habitual offender in battery on, actually twice now on children. And so in the past, we've not supported a vendor when they were in litigation, and I just feel compelled to not vote for, and this doesn't, there's several vendors here, so I just am not going to support this evening regarding only particularly one vendor at this time. It's not, the integrity is not there, and I can't support it. However, also there was an accusation in an email we received today that one of our board members was part of getting that vendor contract with another, another city, village of Estero. So I actually would like to know if that is a true allegation, and it really is alarming if that is in fact the truth, so, or anything remotely close to it. So I won't be supporting this evening, only because of one vendor. I'm sorry that there's other vendors lumped in there, and maybe they'll utilize them instead, and that may be what's going on, but we didn't have, as a board, talk about that like we did with the roofing vendor that was in litigation a few months back, so.
Dr. Savage, can you respond to that?
Well,
or?
I can at least have, I know we have someone from procurement here today, Ms. Millay, who can talk about what the process is. I think speaking to specific allegations, I can't speak in confidence with that. However, just the nature of what this bid is and the multiple vendors involved, if there were concerns about any vendor's conduct, I think Ms. Millay is going to give us what she can. I'll try to fill in whatever else.
Thank you.
Good evening. This topic was brought to us previously, many months ago, and I believe that it was evaluated and brought to the superintendent, the prior superintendent, for a recommendation. After the case was reviewed, it was recommended that we could proceed with this based on what the findings of that research were. I don't have, again, not intimate knowledge of any of the accusations. With respect to the contractual process, anytime that we engage with a vendor, our contractual requirements require background investigations and to disclose if there is a violation of the agreement with the district, which would include arrests or convictions. So contractually, it's incumbent upon the vendor to report and for the district to evaluate. We had evaluated previously, and the outcome of that evaluation was based on many factors, including that the person of interest is not someone who ever steps foot on campus to provide services. That was the recommendation that was previously brought forward. Of course, if the board wants to revisit, we're always open to doing so.
And so if I may, so if we find truth in something like that, then we would not use them, correct? Even though we have them on a list, we just would not give them the jobs, correct?
Well, there is a process for evaluating. Just because someone says something, or it depends on each particular situation, needs to be evaluated for. People get into all different kinds of trouble with the law, and some of those may or may not be related to delivery of services to the school district.
Thank you. Ms. Vaughn, and then Ms. Gittens.
I'm really glad that Ms. Giovanelli brought this up, because I know, without saying who this vendor is, and I know that this vendor has various companies that we use, and I specifically remember the discussion now on this vendor. I think it's under Alyssa's law, is not allowed to come into our district where there are children. However, as a slick move, I would say, this vendor has divided the ownership of his company so that he has 49% and either wife, girlfriend owns the other half. So thank you for bringing it up. I will not be supporting this, because I think that when we have a vendor that is not allowed on school property around children, that's a huge problem, because does this person not come to inspect the work that his people have done? So I will not be supporting this.
Thank you. Ms. Gittens?
Can I ask how long ago was the legal allegation from?
I believe it was at the beginning of this calendar year.
Okay.
Sorry, what was that? What was the answer?
I believe that previously this topic was brought before staff for evaluation at the beginning of this calendar year.
Okay, so here's why, thank you for that answer. Here's why I will not support it, because there are teachers, there are staff members that have tried repeatedly to work for this district. And in doing a quote-unquote background check, things that happened 18 to 20 years ago, and they were called and told they could not work for this district. And they have tried, and they said, you have to wait a year. They waited the year. Well, we can't hire you. So if we can hire and pay someone, but we can't hire a needed teacher, I definitely will not be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Ms. Giovanelli?
So I just want to be clear. He was just recently arrested in this past year for another battery, not because this came up, the battery prior, where the video was, where we've all seen the video of him kicking someone and knocking him out in the front of their yard, that was a year or two ago. That was another incident, right? This is a new incident.
I haven't received any of that information, and that information is evaluated by professional standards and legal. And so I know that previously, when information was brought forward, it was vetted through the different offices within the district. And again, if the school board would like us to reevaluate, revisit, if there's new information, that information should be shared with those departments that evaluate those ethical considerations.
I'm looking at a case number, and the case number is 21. So, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Morgan?
So is this time critical?
No, I'll double check. I believe we could bring it forward, return it to the next agenda. So if you would like to pull the item and have a further evaluation. The good news is that we have multiple vendors on this. The services provided that in the event of a disaster such as a hurricane, this would be the removal of that material. So the only time this bid would ever be used would be if there's a major disaster and we hire someone to remove debris based on the need.
Thank you. Dr. Savage, are you willing to withdraw this item at this time and bring it back?
Absolutely. More than happy to do so. It looks like the renewal date is October 23rd, so that does give us some time, or 22nd, and so that does give us time for a prior board agenda if there's any modification needed or any additional review that we need to do on this item. And again, it is just for the emergency removal of debris as well, so thank you for mentioning that, Ms. Millay.
May I ask?
Well, I know Ms. Fisher was going to had her hand up, and then because she had not had an opportunity.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we accept this with the removal of the one name so that it can move on. And that's what I wanted to ask the attorney.
Mr. Bruno, is that something that can take place?
Possible, but I would prefer if we pulled it
and bring it back
and
clean?
bring it back, please.
Bring it back clean. So, Ms.
And
Fisher?
just to be clear, I don't want to identify the vendor at the dais.
Correct. And Ms. Fisher, did you have, because I have no idea who it is.
Well, the only other question that I had for Ms. Millay is, don't we have other vendors on our list of vendors who could perform that service?
Yes, this is a multi-award.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so as it stands right now, Dr. Savage, you're going to just pull it for now and then bring it back to us in a clean version, or?
That's correct.
Later
We will
time?
pull and do whatever additional looking into this matter that we have to that's brought today.
Thank you for that.
A pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanelli. So based on the being withdrawn, we do not need to take a vote. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure. Thank you, Dr. Savage. Okay, so the next on the agenda is other business, and I'm going to start with Ms. Fisher, please.
Oh, okay, thank you.
This is Ms. Giovanelli, but I'm skipping her because she doesn't like to be first.
So I'm gonna close this evening by not using the comments I had prepared, but to say that I have gratitude to our students, our parents, our school employees, and our community who are supporting one another as we navigate through this challenging time. I have something I want to read. It's called Oh My, and the author is unknown. One day at a time is all we need to deal with. We can't go back to yesterday. We can't control tomorrow. Live for today, just do your best, be grateful, love one another, make this world a tiny bit better. Thank you.
Is that it? You're done? Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli.
Thank you. I just want to make a correction that was earlier today. That was mentioned that that we didn't have a meeting prior to, or the superintendent, the board did not meet prior to him making a decision to mask mandate with an opt-out initially. He exercised his the policy 1.81, and therefore the board never met and spoke about that. So I don't know why it's important for some board members to think that we needed to have a meeting to consult him deciding to put the opt-out back in based on the law. I mean, he did it based on the law the first time. I had no idea that he was going to do it that way. I thought we were going to take a vote by the board, and I feel like the superintendent fell on the sword for the board. So basically, I think that him putting the opt-out back in was a choice that he had full authority and within his ability as a board member, as a school board superintendent, he following the law that was his choice, and he was allowed to make that choice. I don't believe that he was insubordinate in any way, shape, or form, by not consulting with me personally. In fact, I found out about it by later that evening after he made that decision, after he told all the principals, and I found out through not even him. I got a call from Dr. Carlin, which was sufficient, adequate of them trying to get the information out to the board members as quick as possible, and that's how I felt that went down. So I just want to be completely transparent over how that happened and rolled out, because for some reason some people are offended because he didn't ask for permission from them personally. The other thing is Mr. Armstrong brought up some facts about, and I spoke to the actual, our board attorney about the doors being locked. And I have a big problem that you have people in the audience, they come for a workshop or a briefing, and they sit here, and then they're made to leave. And it could be 5:45 when they're made to leave, to run back out, to get back in line, to get back, frisked, to come back inside. So I just don't think that's being customer courteous, and I just don't feel like that's, that sends a message that we really don't want anybody in here. And I completely disagree with that, and I am not going to be supporting of that. And I want to talk to this board about changing that, because I don't think that if they've been in here and they've already been through the process, why should they have to go back out, stand in the rain and thunder and lightning and risk that? Because we do know people do get struck in Florida by lightning. I know it personally. So I just don't think that's a risk that I am willing to take. And I think they should be able to stay in here. Now, maybe I'm the only one on this board of 7 that thinks that. And then if that's the case, I will understand it's the will of the board that people need to leave and go back outside and go through the process all over again that they went through probably 4 hours before that. Now, I understand if they leave, it's their choice to leave, and they have to understand they will have to go back through the process. But if they don't leave and they choose to stay, they shouldn't have to go back through that process. Am I the only one?
Well, I guess, Ms. DePree-Bruno, during a briefing, is it the same process as it is in the middle of the afternoon? Is it the same process as it is for our board meetings at night?
So the security measures for the action meetings are different than.
Correct. Okay.
However, what I will say is also public comment. We want to make sure that everyone has a fair opportunity to be in line for the public comment, especially when we have meetings where we have a lot of people coming. So that's one of the reasons that we ask people to leave, so that we can go ahead and restart that queue and not make it unfair for anyone else who's coming. The doors open, and we do advertise that, and it's all over, posted on the buildings and everywhere on the website, that the doors open for the action meetings, and any meeting actually, 20 minutes beforehand.
And then if I may also, if we're not in here having a meeting and we're gone, and that would mean a staff member or someone would have to be in here if people are in here. That's why everybody's asked to leave, so this can be closed up.
We clear the boardroom.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to make sure. Is there anyone else who has any comments or questions? Or
it's going to be the will of the board. I spoke my piece.
Well, I don't.
To be clear, so that Mr. Newland and I have proper direction, what is the board's will? Keep the same policy that we have now, or do you want it to be changed?
I'm going to ask about, I'm going to go down the line for keeping it the way it is at this time. It has been changed, so Ms. Morgan?
No change.
Ms. Vaughn?
No change.
Ms. Gittens?
I'm at the will of the board. I'm neutral on it.
Ms. Patrica?
No change.
Well, I'm still going to ask Ms. Giovanelli.
The will of the board, I said that earlier, I'll stick with the will of the board, but it's
And
not.
Ms. Fisher?
Can we have a comment from Mr. Newland?
Yes? And thank you for working so hard to put everything together as well.
I apologize, I had to step outside in the hallway, so I want to make sure I heard the topic correctly. If I recall, I think the question was, if we have an earlier meeting, the question came up was, can whoever's here stay in the room until the next meeting starts? Is that the topic?
No, yeah, Ms. Giovanelli was wondering if you're in here for a meeting earlier, why do you have to leave? And then I had said, is it the same protocol in the afternoon that it is in the evening? As well as if people are in here, if we're all out of here and people are in here, that constitutes that we have to have a member of the district in this room, because we're not going to leave people just sitting in this room.
Yeah, and I'd ask for consistency that, sometimes in earlier meetings, the meeting may end hour or 2 hours prior to a night meeting, so there's nobody in this room. I don't think that's safe to keep somebody from the public sitting in the room by themselves. We like to make sure we always will do a walk through the room prior to a meeting. That's very consistent. All we're asking is we have advised or advertised doors open 20 minutes till the next meeting. So they're welcome to leave. They can sit in their car, whatever they like to do. But I like to keep that procedure consistent, because the meetings don't end at the same time every time you have an earlier meeting versus a night meeting. So again, that could be 20 minutes before a late meeting, or it could be 3 hours before a night meeting. So that would create staff having to be in here the whole time.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli?
I understand that, but most of the times the meetings go past 5 o'clock, and therefore majority of our meetings have been well past 5 o'clock, and it could be 20 minutes till the time. They still have to get up and leave when it's 20 till 6, and they get up and have to leave and go back outside. And I just think that's silly to go back outside and start the process all over again. So you're saying that, and that is still going to stay the same?
Yes.
Everybody agrees to that?
Wait for Ms. Fisher, because she
I
wanted.
have a comment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Newland.
Thank you.
No change.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Gittens, you have a comment now on this?
If I may.
Please.
Is there any way to have a time frame that if someone is in 15 minutes before the next meeting starts or whatever because the meeting was late? I understand both sides of it, but I also understand, and I've heard from people that come to speak and they can't get in time to sign up to speak as well. So there's two sides of the story.
Well, let me say this, that if we go with the proposal that we're being talked about, one of the things I am hearing from the public is, if somebody's already in here, then they're going to get, they want to speak. Then others are outside, won't be able to speak because others are already in here, so they have the advantage going, well, if I come in an earlier meeting, I can stay late, I can stay and be at the later meeting, which will be a disadvantage to those coming to a later meeting. So I'm trying to be consistent, as fair as best we can for all the public to have a fair chance to speak as the board policy says.
Thank you. And I agree. I think that we need to make sure that we are consistent in what we're doing, because this back and forth creates more headaches, I believe.
Okay, but my concern is, again, is safety. If you're making them leave and go out in the rain, if they don't, or go to their car in the middle of the rain, I think that I don't agree with that, but okay.
Thank you.
Excuse me, you're out of order. Excuse me, you're out of order. Excuse me, you're out of order, Ms. Jenner.
So that's resolved, so so I get
Next, you're next, please.
And Ms. Kirshner just left, and I was just going to say, I've seen her emails come through, and I have forwarded them to the superintendent, and I wanted to let her know that, but she's left, so I will make that statement anyways. And Dr. Savage, you'll follow up on that, please?
Yeah, the update I received was that Ms. Bowen, our ESC director, has been working with Ms. Kirshner on some of the ESC-related item that was brought up, and that Dr. Spar is also aware of the issue.
Okay, great. So I took care of that and that's it. Thank you so much. I got my list. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Patrica?
So I gave my board report this afternoon, but I would like to just remind the board that we're following off our product protocols. We're supposed to inform each other with a memo 24 hours before a poll, and that didn't occur tonight. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Gittens?
Yes, I apologize for breaking protocol. But I thought I mentioned it yesterday when I brought it up in a discussion. But anyway, I think if you go back and watch my statement this afternoon about the comments that were made about removing the superintendent, I think I said it all then, and you can go back and watch it. It was from my heart and from my mind. I just feel like we have got to put forth a good effort if we're looking for a superintendent to come and sit in that chair, or maybe we're not. Just, I'll let that sit out there. I want to always make sure to say to our staff and people working in the schools, I watch the bus drivers that stand up there. My heart goes out to you. I have an issue with the fact that we can't get it across the finish line to give them a raise. And I don't know if it's the negotiations that are standing in the way. And I wouldn't know about Talc and Spout because in 3 years they've only met with me twice. And I have requested visits, I have requested to be on the calendar, and I have been denied what the other 6 members have on a monthly basis. The last time I spoke to anyone on Talc, we were here for something and we stood out in the hall and talked for 5 minutes, and at the end of that I was told, I'll mark this down as our monthly meeting. 5 minutes in the lobby. So I have no idea what Talc and Spout are doing for you. I would suggest that you guys find that out and talk to someone about it. Because if I had an opportunity, I would ask them, but they won't meet with me. I asked the previous superintendent to make that happen. Twice they spoke to me. So I just want to put that out there. And the one time, it was so that they could fuss with me that I was not going along with something they wanted to do. That's not going to happen. If it's not right, it's not going to happen. I have said in the last couple of meetings, you know, people get up and talk about, oh, we're going to vote you out. Please. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But like I said today, until I'm no longer sitting in this chair, I will continue to discuss the things that need to be changed. And there are things that must be changed in this district. And I will say, finally, in the 3 years that I've been sitting here, thank you, Dr. Savage, for not once ever saying to me to stay in my lane and shut up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Ms. Vaughn, please.
Yes. Okay. I am the board liaison to the EDAC committee, and I believe we were the first of the board advisory committees to meet. I know all the September meetings are going on right now or have finished. As the board liaison, my report to EDAC was regarding the superintendent search. Talked to them about the information that they could find on the website, including the survey and the forums. And actually, because we were meeting so early, I didn't have the total information, but I did talk to them about it. Mrs. Dupree-Bruno gave her usual excellent overview of Robert's rules, everything you ever wanted to know about Robert's rules, and then some. and also talked to them about sunshine. And we had presentations, Mr. Bradley, Ms. Duncan. It was a virtual meeting. It was on Zoom. We had excellent participation. I love the people on EDAC because they always have something to say. However, I will have to say that I think we went 2 hours and 10 minutes, so it was a long meeting. And one of the things that I do want to mention is Ms. Kathy Eba was there talking about the site selection committee, and that's really important. 6 people from the DAC committee, 2 from each zone, and also 3 from EDAC. And we had no problem having volunteers to fill for the site selection committee. So that's some information for those of you who wonder, well, who's on the site selection committee. Those advisory people are an important part of that. We also had the student advisory committee meet this week. It was on Zoom, and I'll have to say it was very disappointing because we had great presentation, but we really had very few students attending. So I think we're going to revisit some things on that before the next meeting. But those students that were there were great participants, but it was a very, very small group. I also wanted to mention a couple other things that occurred this week, and I just want to go through this very, very quickly since we've been talking a lot about Dr. Savage and the mask mandate and his rescinding of the unrestricted mandate. A little bit of history on the week. I believe Friday, the 10th of September, I called for a special meeting, and I believe it was about 3:30 in the afternoon of last week. And for those of you who don't know, there are a couple ways that a special meeting can be called. The chair can call for a special meeting if she feels that it's necessary. The superintendent can call for a special meeting. Also, individual board members, the way I did, can call for a special meeting. And then what happens is that the board members are polled. It may be by our secretaries in the office, or in this particular case, there was a Friday afternoon polling of board members by our board attorney. There's some things, the reason I'm mentioning this, I have 2 things that surround it that I want to make a point about. The first one is that the original poll was for 4 members, including myself, a yes. And 2 members voted no. And so that should have been put in place. We should have gone forward with the special meeting. Then Monday rolls around, and remember, this is the weekend where Dr. Savage made the decision to rescind the mandate that he put forward, which was totally, as was mentioned earlier, totally within his abilities, within his powers as a superintendent to use 1.181, that policy. And so it was also, since he had put it in effect, it was also within his jurisdiction as a superintendent to rescind that. And I'm not here to talk specifically about that decision, but things that revolved around it that I find extremely disturbing. So as I was the person that asked for that meeting, I emailed our board chair and said, I would like to know the count, and I would like to know who was the person that, changed her vote. Not that it was going to change anything, but it was within my right. And so Ms. Jordan did write back to me and gave me a long explanation with excuses and what time things happened and then this and that. I won't go into that anymore. And I emailed back and I said, but you didn't answer my question. Please tell me the original vote and who. Got a second reply. Same thing, no answer on that. Third time, I spelled it out very specifically what I wanted to know. This was important to me, just to know. It's like when you take a vote, you look who voted for, who voted against. Doesn't mean anything in particular, unless unless the person's maybe running for office or whatever. But I just wanted to know. Third time, and I had said, I'm only going to ask 3 times. Did not get an answer. I finally contacted our board attorney and got my answer. And again, I'm not even going to mention who voted which way. I'm just going to say, and Ms. Jordan knows this, and I'm very upset that as a board member, I was denied this. Okay, let's segue that into something else. Mrs. Patrica sent us a copy today of a letter that she had sent to Dr. Savage. And all of us on the board got it. It's, it's public information since that has been shared with all of us. And in it, she said that, one of the things, and it was several paragraphs, and she did cite a lot of reasons to keep the mask mandate. Again, I'm not here at this point to talk about mask mandates, yes, no, restricted, unrestricted. I'm here to talk about the process and how we work as a board, and this is very disturbing to me. In her letter to Dr. Savage, she said one thing, that he went ahead without consulting the board, that he went ahead without public discussion. So obviously the mention of public discussion made it important to Mrs. Patrica. Interestingly, there were a couple other letters that were forwarded to all of us as is part of our protocol, where Mrs. Patrica was answering a couple constituents. And her answer to both of these constituents who had written to her to protest the rescinding of the board, the rescinding of the mask mandate, the unrestricted mask mandate. And again, I'm not here to talk about mask mandate, but how things are done around here, which disturbs me. And she said, first of all, I feel like she kind of threw a couple people under the bus in that reply, stating that she had talked to Mrs. Dupree-Bruno on, I believe it was on Friday evening or over the weekend, and she used the word assured in it. She said our attorney assured her that, it had to be Friday because it was when Ms. Patrica was polled. And Ms. Dupree-Bruno assured her that Dr. Savage, from her discussions with him, would not be changing the mandate that he had in place. Now remember, this is also the time frame when we went from Judge Cooper's ruling to the appellate court. Okay? So then Dr. Savage called, or either Dr. Savage or Dr. Carlin called all of us at the end of the weekend and gave us the information that Dr. Savage was, after consideration, was in fact pulling this. And again, there was a change from when it was first put in following Judge Cooper's ruling to the appellate court. And then I believe it was the next day that there was a federal, I might be off on the days, but then we have a federal ruling as well. But the thing that confuses me is that if it was so important to have a discussion with the public, why didn't this board member say yes to a special meeting? Because she said no. She was one of the two people that initially said no to that meeting. And again, this is knowledge that's out there. It's all in emails. And so we've had a lot of discussion today from this dais. Enough is enough is enough. I've had enough over the past almost 3 years of board manipulations, of games, I initially announced that I was going to bring up a motion to censor certain board members, but I'm not going to do that since it would probably be nipped in the bud since we have talked about not policing each other. So I'm not going to do that, but I'm just going to say, you know, that wonderful presentation that Ms. Dupree-Bruno gave the EDAC committee, maybe there's some people on this board that need to remember a little bit about sunshine and about telling other people, oh, we've been working on this one because we're not sure we have her vote. I don't care if it was a daisy chain, that is still a sunshine violation. And so I have had the finger pointed at me. I can't even tell you how many times I've had complaints waged against me. Never any findings on it. And for all of you out there, you know how I feel about the mess. You know how I feel. And I think it's horrible that we are not having a mandate. But that said, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about how people act on this board. And I'm sick and tired of it and the games and the manipulations. It must stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Ms. Morgan?
Yeah, so actually, I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but I will respond to this. Let me make it clear. I did speak to Attorney Dupree-Bruno on that Friday. She said that somebody had made a motion. It wasn't clear to me what or not a motion. Someone had asked for a special meeting. It wasn't clear to me what the special meeting was about. As far as I was concerned, nothing had changed, and I told her, with nothing having changed, I see no reason to proceed with a special meeting. So I'm one of the people who said no, because I thought everything was in place, and I saw no need to bring the policy back, or to bring the decision back. I don't remember being polled on Monday. I know there was another thing on Monday, but you all recall that I said, I think when we ask for special meetings, we need to do it in writing so that the board chair and the superintendent know what the purpose of the request is. Because I felt through all of these conversations that I wasn't on solid ground with respect to what was the question being asked with respect to a special meeting. So I just want to be clear that I was very confused, and that's why I asked for clarity moving forward with respect to special meetings. And that's my board comment for, I think that's my board comment for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gittens, did you have something to say? I just wanted to take a second on the comment about a special meeting. I did request in writing several times for special meetings. And in case you didn't know, I do a read receipt, and some of you deleted it before you read it on several occasions. So I did not want to have the meeting because we already had a meeting scheduled for that Tuesday. So that was why I opted out at the last minute for that. But the equity on this board is not there. We're just not there. We just aren't. And I don't know what's going to cause it to happen. I don't know if it's conscience or what, but we need to find it.
Thank you. And, oh, I guess it's me. And I know that, thank you, Ms. Vaughn, for bringing all that up. And why I don't feel that I have to justify, I am going to say that we received that stuff at 10 p.m. in the evening is when I was getting all the, I do not poll anybody. That's when I was getting the information. And I do apologize that I do have a family that needs to be taken care of. So that will take place. So it's not, I try to be here in this district every chance and opportunity that I have to be here. I never, ever neglect my duties, nor will I ever do that. I don't care what time of day it is, what hour, even driving 2 hours. Last night I was on the phone trying to work, and I'm still back here for these meetings. So I've never missed a meeting. I will never miss a meeting, no matter what. And I did have conversation with the superintendent and I both discussed this. We understood what, there was a poll. We understood there were people who wanted it. We understood that it was already for discussion on the 21st. We were speaking on the data and every single thing that we were going to bring forward on the 21st so that everybody was clear on where the district was going. I did have conversations with Mr. Pre-Bruno to make sure, and not only that, we have people in our offices who were ill, who were not here. We were shorthanded in there and just trying to get a hold of everyone. And have you ever tried to call, all of you? Probably not, because just trying to get a hold of you took an entire day and then some to even get an answer. And then we redid that whole thing again, and it took every minute because people are busy with their lives. So it happened twice that we tried to get everybody to contact, to get all the information so we could go forward if that's what the board wanted to do, the entire board or the majority. So I will never neglect my duties. I will always, that will be my priority. It always has been, and it will continue to be so. So I just wanted to say that.
Clarify something?
Yes, please.
Okay, perhaps you misunderstood what I said. I said that you replied to me each time, but each time you gave me a long explanation without answering my question. And I had a simple question that I made even simpler in request number 3. I just wanted to know what was the result of the poll, who voted which way, and who changed her mind. That's all I wanted to know.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. And you did say that I responded, but you said I responded with excuses. They were
You did.
It was
You
facts.
you did, but anyway, sorry.
But thank you. Mr. Pre-Bruno?
I just want to make sure that everybody understands that I'm copied on those emails, and there's nothing of substance that they are discussing, just trying to get a date and to figure out whether or not they should have a special meeting. So I'll make sure that's very clear to ensure that everyone knows that there's no violation of sunshine. The other thing I wanted to share is, I'm going to just read this. The school board shall, 1, lead with vision by keeping the focus on the future rather than the past or present. 2, empower through processes. 3, encourage and listen for the diversity and the views of all in the community. 4, lead strategically. 5, create a clear distinction between school board and administrative roles. 6, make decisions based on factual information. 7, make decisions collectively rather than individually. 8, govern proactively rather than reactively. This is your board policy 1.06, school board's philosophy. The School Board of Lee County governs with an emphasis on its well-defined purpose, improved student achievement. Therefore, the school board shall 1 through 8.
Thank you. And Dr. Savage, before I come to you, I just wanted to say, with the bus drivers, I really appreciate all that you do. And I actually had gone to a meeting where I wound up seeing about 50 of you there. So I brought back all the information that was shared, because that's what we're to do. And I shared it with Dr. Savage. So they are definitely aware of things that were concerning. So I just wanted to share that information. And thank you for getting our children to and from school. Dr. Savage?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to express my just gratitude to all the people out there in the schools working so hard every day. I know that this is a lot of attention here, but I got to tell you, the work that's going out in the schools right now, the sacrifices that people are having to make, just everyone, all of our kids out there learning, it's just a lot of work going out there right now, and I just kind of keep my focus on that as much as I possibly can. I appreciate the support that folks kind of offered here today in this room, but I would say again, in my mind, it's really not about me. This is not a popularity contest. This is really about us serving our community. So just really appreciate the kind words, but at the same time, my job is not always very popular. I have to make decisions, and they have to kind of stand for principles. And so one of those that I've been very clear and very consistent on is trying to act on the best understanding of the law as it is. And so that's my role as an executive. So I do appreciate the kind words, but understand that some decisions are going to make people pleased and others are going to make them upset. I just want to reiterate to the people who were pleading today through masks and whatnot that we re-implement the mask mandate. The mask requirement has been in place since the start of school, and it's been in place the entire time. The only thing that has changed is the opt-outs. When we were given a little bit more latitude that was clear, that's when that change occurred, and only then. While we still have different interpretations based on the DOE understanding, we continue to monitor the evolving legal situation of what it is. And again, my job as the executive as it stands right now based on the authority given within these policies is to follow the law. That means I have to follow federal law, state law, and of course our local law. So that is what I'm doing. I'm not trying to make any one group happy. That is not my objective. It's not a popularity contest again, but I do appreciate the kind words. That said, I really encourage everyone to just focus on what we can do for our schools. The people working in it, our students, the families, people have been through a lot out in our community. Anything we can do, all of us, anyone in this room, to really help enhance the educational process, to help serve our community by lifting up our young people, by lifting up the people who are working with, such as our bus drivers, our teachers, staff in schools. That's the challenge I would offer to anyone here. There's clearly a lot of passion and commitment in this room among all of us from our respective roles. But if we can come together on one thing, I think it's that we all probably really, really value our children. And that's going to be where I continue to put my focus. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Savage. The next scheduled meetings of the board. On Monday, October the 4th, there will be a board workshop at 1 p.m. On Tuesday, October the 5th, there will be a board briefing at 1 p.m., followed by an action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no other business to come before this body, seeing no objections, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you and good night.